Let's talk about the issues that you are likely to confront in the presidency. The ongoing wars in the Middle East, for instance. What would you do about what's going on in Syria?
Well, first of all, recognize that Syria is an extraordinarily complex place. You know, we've got the Russians in there, you've got the Chinese in there, you've got multiple different factions in there, and you know, you've got ISIS in there, and they're fighting against the Free Syrian rebels. You know, they're fighting against the Arab Sunni moderates, the Iraqi Syri forces. They're fighting against Israel. And we ought to take note of the fact that they're fighting so many different factions, decide how we can work in a way that is disadvantage to them, knowing that they're fighting all of these different factions. That's the kind of strategy that we need. But we also need to recognize that it's not just Syria. We have to realize that we're dealing with a global jihad movement. ISIS is an important part of that. And the whole idea of a caliphate is very, very important to them, particularly in terms of their recruiting efforts.
Yeah.
Therefore, we need to make them look like losers and not like winners. So we need to be looking at strategies for disassembling the caliphate that they have already established,
right,
with half of Iraq,
and
a third of Syria, with footholds in Somalia, in Nigeria, in Tunisia.
And how would you do that, Dr. Carson? I mean, how would you get around containing them?
Well, we need to use every resource available to us, including our financial resources. We need to try to strangulate them in terms of oil resources. For instance, you look at all the oil outside of Anbar in Iraq. You know, those areas are controlled by ISIS right now. We don't have to allow them to continue to control those areas. And it may require that we use some of our own forces. But one of the things that I think is unrealistic is for us to sit there and say, we need to have a coalition of the people in that area. And
why is that
will be
unrealistic?
able to control them, but that will never happen unless that coalition has a leader. You can't sit there and call for a coalition and then sit on your butt and smoke a cigar.
What about, Dr. Carson, the refugee crisis? What should the U.S. be doing about the people who have had to flee their homes from Syria?
Well, recognize that a large number of them have congregated on the Turkey-Syrian border, where there are a lot of hostilities going on. I would start a no-fly zone there, and I would enforce it. I would make sure that everybody knew that it was happening, so as to avoid accidents. But that also helps to separate, the forces, which is much less likely to create an international incident.
Should the U.S. open their doors to more of these refugees?
No. We already have tens of millions of people here who are suffering economically. Why would we bring more, particularly bring in people who could easily be infiltrated with members of global jihad? That would be a silly thing to do.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons...
I think instead we should use some of our resources and some of our expertise to help them get resettled in that area. But the real goal would be to help to moderate what's going on in Syria so they can stay in their own country. Half of the population has been displaced.
I mean, one of the reasons is because, obviously there are the debate in Europe about how many to take in, and they desperately need shelter at the moment. And, I don't have to tell you, of course, that the Bible says, welcome the stranger. It's Matthew 24:41 that says, we cannot say to those in need, you are not our problem.
Yeah, but the Bible also talks about being wise. You don't just do stupid things. That would be a stupid thing, to bring in a bunch of people from an area where they would be stupid. The jihadists would be stupid if they didn't infiltrate those people with the kind of people they want to get in here to accomplish their goals.
Mm-hmm. I want to move on and ask you about a videotape of you from last year that has just surfaced. It's been uncovered by the magazine Mother Jones, and it's you giving a speech at the Nixon Presidential Library in which you talk about liberals trying to take over the country. and you talk about your impression of some Americans. So let me play a little clip of that.
They underestimated the intelligence of the American people. The people are not as stupid as they think they are. Many of them are stupid, but, okay. But I'm talking about overall.
So that was obviously a punchline. That got a big joke. But who were you referring to? Which Americans do you think are stupid?
The people, particularly a lot of the people who don't realize what they're doing. For instance, those people who take the disadvantaged people in our country and they say, "You poor little thing, I'm going to give you everything that you possibly need," not recognizing that what that is really doing is keeping those people in a dependent position. That's not helping those people. And all you have to do is look at what's happened since, the Great Society programs of Lyndon Johnson. We've spent $19 trillion, and we have 10 times more people on food stamps, more people in poverty, more broken homes, out-of-wedlock births, crime, incarceration. Now, everything is not only worse, it's much worse. You have to be kind of stupid to look at that and not realize that that's a failure and to say, we just didn't do enough of it. That's what I call stupid.
So, just to be clear, people who support food stamps or Medicaid or welfare...
I didn't say that. Now you're trying to put words in my mouth.
No, I'm trying to clarify.
Why do you do that?
I want to
clarify,
Dr.
Just listen to what I just told you.
Because I think what you're saying are liberals. I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is that
I can't believe that you used to work on Fox and you've turned into that. I don't believe it.
I'm glad you brought that up, Dr. Carson, because you also said something about Fox News that I'd like to play from that very same speech. Let's play that clip about your thoughts on Fox News.
Even if all the media tries to shut you down, which they have tried very much to do with me, but they can't because the good Lord has provided me with mechanisms like my syndicated column and like Fox News. We'd be Cuba if there were no Fox News.
Now, as you point out, I did work at Fox for many years, and I do have many friends there still who are excellent journalists, but I'm not sure that even they think that without their reporting that we would be Cuba. You mean that if Fox News didn't exist, we would be a communist country?
No. Again, there you go with sensationalism. That's what you try to do. And you hope that somehow that will resonate with people who don't think for themselves.
Dr. Carson, you said it. I'm actually
people
quoting you.
People are a lot smarter than you think they are. They're a lot smarter, and they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Dr. Carson, I'm actually quoting, I'm not even quoting you, I'm playing your words. You are the person who said that there are a lot of people who are stupid and that without Fox News, we would be Cuba.
Are you honestly telling me that you didn't know what I was talking about when I said that? Are you honestly telling me that? Because if you are, you might fit in that category.
Dr. Carson, I really don't know what you're talking about. Fox News came to dominance in 2001. You think before 2001, the U.S. was a communist country?
That's not what I said, but that's what you guys love to do. Why do you do that?
Dr.
What
Carson,
I'm saying, listen, let me explain it to you.
Please.
What I am saying is that the general mainstream media all seems to move in the secular progressive direction. And, they would like to create a narrative that certain things are good and certain things are bad, according to the way that they see them. And by being able to be the bully pulpit, so to speak, and to be the only voice that's out there, you can get a lot of people to start thinking the way that you do. Now, along comes Fox News and presents an alternative, a different way of thinking. And if we didn't have that counterbalance, I wish we didn't need that counterbalance, because the way it's supposed to work is that the media is supposed to be neutral and they're supposed to be on the side of the people, and that is the reason that they are the only business that is protected by the United States Constitution. But because they have become very partisan and very ideological, you need to have a counterbalance, and that's what I mean, having Fox come in to counterbalance what you've done. Some others have come in and joined since that time, and it's good that they have, but it's unfortunate that that has to happen.
Well, Dr. Carson, therein lies the very question, and that is that when you say that there are some people in America who are stupid because of their ideology, when you are president, if you win the presidency, you will have to be the president of everyone. You will have to be the president of liberals, of conservatives, of Fox News watchers, of CNN watchers. And so putting people into categories because of what they believe in terms of social programs and saying that they're stupid, how will you not be partisan? How will you bring those sides together?
I just explained to you who I believe the stupid people are. And they're not the people that you think are the stupid people.
You said that the people that you thought are stupid.
They're much better and they're much smarter than you think they are.
Yes, but the people, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's why they're not falling for all the garbage.
But Dr. Carson, correct me if I'm wrong. You said that the people who you think are stupid are the people who are calling for more social programs that you don't agree with. And I assume that you're talking about the social...
No,
go ahead, clarify.
That's not what I said.
Clarify.
What I said, listen to what I said. Listen carefully. Write it down. Put it in quotation marks.
We're all ears.
What I said is that those individuals who see many of the downtrodden in our society and they pat them on the head, say, there's you poor little thing, I'm going to give you all the things that you need, and not recognize that what that has done is led them actually into a dependent position in our society. We can't afford to be making people dependent, but those people are not capable of opening their eyes and recognizing what they are doing to these people and that it is not beneficial to them. You know, we only have 330 million people in America. We have to compete against China and India, who have over 1 billion people each. Now, we need to develop all of our people. We can't afford, for instance, to have 20% of people dropping out of high school. We can't afford to have 5% of the population and 25% of incarcerated inmates. We can't have educational systems that are failing our people. You know, we need to be looking at these things not in a partisan way, but recognizing that America needs to be strong, and it can only be strong when it's united. And I would hope that at some point the people in your profession would recognize that they would do a much greater service for our nation if they would be trying to find ways to solve some of these problems that I'm talking about.
Well, Dr. Carson, I mean, one of the things that journalism is about is asking questions in order to get answers and try to solve problems. For instance, everyone is concerned about education in this country. All of the candidates say that. What makes your platform about what you would do with our schools different?
So you didn't hear a word I said. You're just waiting for me to stop so you can make your point. But, you know, here
Did you
here
clarify your
I'm
education
saying.
platform?
You guys in the media, just stop for a minute and ask yourself, am I actually doing a good thing? Am I actually doing something to help to strengthen the fabric of America? Ask yourselves that. Or am I being used and am I being manipulated for somebody's ideological viewpoint?
Dr. Carson,
and if you stop and ask yourselves that and stop thinking that you are the know-it-alls, I think you will be a real service to the people.
Dr. Carson, we ask the questions in the media. If you think that there isn't...
No, you don't just
Dr.
ask
Carson,
questions. You have
Dr.
an
Carson,
agenda. Don't tell me that you just ask questions.
Dr. Carson, you've just challenged my industry and journalism as a whole.
And
so
I will
to
continue
answer,
to challenge it.
Fine, that's your prerogative. But to your question, of course we have meetings every day, all the time, about how to best get the answers, how to best test the candidates, how to best ask the questions. We do that sort of soul searching all the time. And so
why
the idea
is it then that I can easily figure out which side you're always going to come down on?
Because it sounds
why would that be the case if you were objective?
It sounds as though you don't like some questions. There are some questions that you think are out of bounds. Questions about your past.
I think the questions will be fine if they're asked to everybody. I want you to ask Hillary Clinton the same questions you asked me. Will you do that? Will you promise that you're going to do that?
Yes, of course. Of course, we ask Hillary Clinton questions about her book.
Okay,
yes.
Everybody heard it. Look, everybody heard it. We're waiting.
Dr. Carson, of course we ask Hillary Clinton questions about what she wants to do with foreign policy, what she wants to do with education, about her books. Of course we ask those questions. And
do you ask her questions
that.
about veracity of what she's done? I want you to go back and ask her some real questions about what happened at Benghazi. I want you to ask her, did her philosophy include not knowing anything about what was going on in all the foreign territories over which she was responsible?
Oh, Dr.
Will you
Carson,
ask her that? Will you ask her, when did a time arrive in our nation when we said it's too dangerous to go and rescue our people? When, in fact, you had those 2 Navy SEALs on top of that compound shooting those machine guns, allowing their colleagues to escape. But I'm sure they were saying, if we can just hold out, help is on the way. But help was not on the way. Ask her why help was not on the way. When did our philosophy change? What is the implication of that? Please ask her those questions. I would appreciate it.
Well, Dr. Carson, look, Hillary Clinton has been asked a lot of questions about Benghazi. Are you saying that you don't believe what has come out in terms of the investigation, that they did their best to try to save the Americans that night?
I don't believe that she has answered the questions that I just posed.
And you feel that the Americans were left when something more could be done?
Of course there was more that could be done. Are you kidding me? Do you actually believe there was not more that could be done?
Dr. Carson, sorry, somebody was speaking to me, but the United States military, as you know from the investigation, says that they did all they could. This isn't Hillary Clinton saying that. That's the United States military saying that. But again, Dr. Carson, I'm asking you the questions, and it sounds like you're objecting to the very questions being asked about how you feel. These are questions.
I've already told you the answers.
Dr. Carson.
You just haven't had the answers that you want to hear, that's all.
Well, here's a question. What makes you think that you are the best person who will bring all of these different disparate ideologies and people together?
It's not about me, and it's not about what I think. It's about the American people and what they think.
Yes, but you're running for president because you believe you can do it better than other people. So what is it about you that you think that even though there are ideologies that are different than yours, that you will be the best person?
And interestingly enough, you say that's why I'm running for president. I'll tell you the reason I'm running for president. Because I have hundreds of thousands of petitions from my fellow Americans asking me to run for president. It wasn't something that I particularly wanted to do, to be honest with you. But once I make the commitment to do it, I will go full force ahead to try to do it. And I believe that America is an incredible nation with incredible people in it. And if we're able to work together, the things that we'll be able to accomplish are amazing. But we have to be able to identify what those things are. We have to look at, for instance, a lot of people in your business will sit there and say, Republicans just want to get rid of regulations so they can help out their buddies in business. No. The reason that regulations are so onerous is because every single federal regulation costs in terms of goods and services. And who gets hit by that? The cost is the same for everybody.